Infatuated with the in-between, the ups and downs, the curves and the rounds. I bring it to your city or your hometown. I go back in time when the feeling was fine, when funkin' was legal and it wasn't a crime. Party people lined up and down the way, a bigger celebration than your birthday. Funkin' up the neighborhood, I felt the fool 'cause the funkin' was good. Funk you in the city, funk you up in the woods. Funkin' up the neighborhood, funkin' up the neighborhood. I felt the fool 'cause the funkin' was good. Funk you in the city, funk you up in the woods. Funkin' up the neighborhood. And I have seen the world pristine, funk you up in the bushes, funk you down in the trees. Now look around, all the frowns, the yellow, the white, the red and the brown. And keep in mind, it never costs a dime, 'cause funkin' is free, I remember the time. Now look today, the streets are gray, time to take it back to yesterday. Funkin' in the neighborhood, I felt the fool 'cause the funk was good. Funk you in the city, funk you up in the woods. Funkin' up the neighborhood, funkin' up the neighborhood. I felt the fool 'cause the funk was good. It was good in the city, funk you up in the woods. Funkin' up the neighborhood. Funkin' up the neighborhood, I felt full 'cause the funkin' was good. Funk you in the city, funk you up in the woods. Funkin' up the neighborhood, funkin' up the neighborhood. I felt full 'cause the funkin' was good. Funk you in the city, funk you up in the woods. Funkin' up the neighborhood, funkin' up the neighborhood. I felt full 'cause the funkin' was good. Funk you in the city, funk you up in the woods. Funkin' up the neighborhood, funkin' up the neighborhood. I felt full 'cause the funkin' was good. Funk you in the city, funk you up in the woods. Funkin' up the neighborhood.
And we're live. Welcome to the Pipe. Jim.
Here we are.
Yeah. It has been a while, my friend.
It has. It's been a couple of months. I hope your holidays were well. I'm glad you're feeling better. So we're back in the saddle.
Yeah, so first of all, I owe everybody an apology. It has been way too long since I've done one of these live streams. After the last time we were on, Jim, I was telling you that you could tell my voice is getting a little raspy at the end. And the very next day, I was just out. It wasn't pandemic related. I don't think I can say that word right now. It wasn't pandemic related, but man, I was just out for down for the count for weeks. It turned into pneumonia. It was a whole thing. So man, I'm glad to be back on my feet.
Yeah. I suppose we should mention today's show is sponsored by Pfizer.
Exactly.
Nothing wrong with our vaccines here.
Yeah, brought to you by Pfizer. Don't go on blind dates and tell people all about your job's dirty secrets. Pfizer. Oh boy. Yeah, we're totally going to get canceled now. Oh well, it's all good.
Look, they've cut off the comments. Excellent. See, this is going to be great. It's just me and you having a conversation.
Look, we joke. We joke,
Huh?
but I do another business related live stream. And one day we were on streaming on Facebook, and we were talking about it's YouTube, so I think I can say it. I mentioned the words Cambridge Analytica because we were talking about big data. And you remember the Cambridge Analytica hearings in Congress and that whole thing with Zuckerberg?
Yeah.
So I mentioned Cambridge Analytica, and I stopped for a second. I turned to my buddy. I'm like, "Can I say that online?" And as soon as I said that, the whole thing crashed. My computer was going crazy. I had to restart everything. It was nuts. So look, I'm not saying Zuckerberg crashed my live stream, but that's
Completely coincidental. Nothing to see here.
right. On top of that, the song that plays on the countdown as we're coming in. So I know the band, but for some reason YouTube won't let me have the rights to play the song in the opening of this show, right? So they keep putting automatic copyright strikes against me on this show, meaning I can't monetize this show that I couldn't monetize anyway because it's about tobacco. So what does it matter?
Yeah. There we go.
Right. So why bother trying to fix it?
Yeah.
So Jim, I don't know if we've bitten off more than we can chew today. I understand that this is a bit of a controversial subject, trying to clone Frog Morton.
Okay. First of all, I'm going to start off and tell you, because I have folks that call me all the time, can you copy this? And my rote pat answer is no, I can't. But what we can do is disseminate what's in it and come up with something pretty special. Just recently, a friend of mine, James, called me up and said, I want a copy of blend X. And I said, well, I can't do that. And I said, what's the blend? And we looked at the blend, we looked at the ingredients, and I said, okay. And we talked through it, and I did the blend for him, and I sent it to him, and he absolutely loved it. So it's not like there's an inexhaustible supply of blenders to use. There's just a limited number.
Right.
And when you work on the math and you start to figure out how things go, you can create some amazing things. Recreating Frog Morton Cellar is impossible.
Oh,
but
we should have saved that for the end of the show.
Well, yeah. Well, I want all the people that were going to rip us to get that out of the way early. It's not possible. So what I did, Thomas from Tinker's Pipes was kind enough a while back to send me a sample of Frog Morton Cellar from 2014. So I'll bring it up to the camera.
Nice.
So I took I had a couple of bowls of it. It's an excellent tobacco, but I didn't get personally attached to it because it's gone. It was gone before I came back to pipe tobacco in 2018, 2019. It didn't exist. So for me, it's not a tragic loss because I know it's gone. I knew when I smoked it. It's like, oh, okay, this is nice.
Right. It's a good tobacco, but again, you're right. You don't want to get attached to it because it's few and far between.
No. So we looked at it. I looked at it, and we get down to that part of it. I'll show what I did to get to this point, and we'll go from there. Am I breaking up? Are we doing the AT&T thing again? Are we okay?
It's a little choppy from time to time, but overall you sound great. If anybody else thinks there's a problem with the audio, let us know in the comments, and we'll see what we can do. It's all part of the joy of live streaming. I've done whole shows where I was muted and didn't realize it. So
Well, I just, as much fun as we had on the last one, just, hey, Jim, you're talking, who are you talking to? Well, my computer mostly, because we're not connected to anything. So.
Right, exactly. But speaking of being muted the whole time, since I haven't been making videos over the holidays, I've actually gotten more subscribers in a short period of time than I did when I was actually making videos on a regular basis. So that should probably tell me something. I don't know.
Hey, Wes, we'll subscribe if you knock it off.
Exactly. Just shut up. We'll give you what you want.
Yeah, I was on. I did an interview yesterday with Parsimonious Piper,
Mm-hmm.
and overnight picked up 25 new subscribers, and it's just it's wild.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And it's Jim, would you like to come on and talk about pipe tobacco? Oh no, I wouldn't like that at all. Let's.
You hate talking about that stuff. I get it.
Yeah.
No, you've been getting a lot of really good, good activity lately. I know you had the interview recently. You also got a really good review from your tobacco from. I tried to think of it too fast. What's his Mitch? What's his channel? I keep forgetting. It's slipping my mind, and it's gonna kill me because I watched his video.
Take your time.
The church guy. He's a mailman. He's also the preacher.
Oh, Spurgeon Piper.
Spurgeon Piper. I was
Wilson.
Yeah, Wilson. I said
yeah. You believe that? He picked Colwyn Bay Navy to be a top 5 2022 blend.
Yeah, that was a great blend.
How humbling. Yeah. I am just, I was like, hey, he called me up and said, hey, what's in Colwyn Bay? And I said, oh, it's this and this and this and this and this. And he goes, okay, I really like this one. And I said, okay. And, he says, hey, a couple of days before the video, hey, this is going to be one of my top 5 blends. And I'm like, wow. It's just mind blowing. Like I told Ethan from Parsimonious Piper yesterday, I'm always blown away. Cool. People like my work. Yay!
Yeah, and he wasn't just picking from micro blenders or craft blenders. He was picking from all blends, and you got in his top list. So that's impressive. That's awesome.
Yeah, it really is. And at Noah's house, did a review of 2 of my blends, and that got a lot of run, and I couldn't be happier. This is it's a wonderful feeling that people like your work. So
yeah, that is awesome. WV Cigars asks, what blend was that again?
He did Ardfinnan. Oh boy. Ardfinnan and, well, hold on, I'll tell you here in a second.
Well, in the meantime, while you're looking that up, if anybody wants to get Jim's tobacco, leave you a DM on Instagram, right?
Or you can shoot me an email at emersonsouthern@yahoo.com.
There you go.
Those are the 2 best ways to get a hold of me.
Yeah, definitely.
I am on Facebook now at Emerson Southern. On Facebook. I think I'm all the way up to 9 friends.
Look, you only need a few really good ones. That's all you need. I get it.
Yeah. Oh, and he did Port Marnock Reserve.
Oh, good. That's awesome. Yeah. Honestly, every time you send me something new, it blows my mind how good it is. That so you sent me some cigar blends, and I want to give them their due before I give them really good reviews. Well, really fair reviews, but thorough reviews. By good, I mean the first one I smoked, I gave you an amazing review. That was probably one of the best blends I've had in a really long time. I mean, it was just it was so
now when you look. Well, you and I talked about cigar leaf in our last blending video, and how it can overtake a blend. And I was talking about getting cigar leaves at the time, and I ordered 5 different leaves. and I shredded them and I put them in a clay pipe and I smoked all of them. And I'm like, I'm not getting that overpowering C&D pipes and cigars, cigar leaf flavor. And I thought, well, okay, so I'll put together a base blend and then add the cigar leaf as the main component and see how all 5 of them do. And Glasgow Magistrate and Blind Monkey were just off the hook. I was just shocked at what I got out of it. And I sent it to Travis and I sent it to Jay, and I feel terrible because I have a box here for Thomas that grows exponentially every time I whip something up. And I keep, it went from a small box to a medium UPS box. It's now a large box. There's not enough room in it. And I've got to get that out to him tomorrow because I just feel terrible that I haven't.
Yeah.
But Thomas is like, oh, don't worry about me. And then someone will call up and say, hey, I need this and this. And then I'll take it out of Thomas's box and send it to him. And I'll make more, take care of the customer. But those 2 cigar leaves were just off the charts. And of course, because it's cigar leaf, it will get no run. It'll get no, for some reason, there's a whole group of people that shy away from cigar leaves. But these are rich and elegant and so smooth, and they're just so different from anything that I've made. I was just simply blown away. Absolutely love Glasgow and Blind Monkey.
No, you're right. A lot of cigar leaf. You're right. It can be overpowering, or it can be noticeable. Like, this definitely has cigar leaf in it. Even some pretty high profile blends like that Folklore they just re-released. I mean, it has Castore leaf in it, and you can taste the cigar leaf in there at a certain level in a couple different areas. Your Glasgow Magistrate. You know it's there if you look for it, but it really adds just an extra dimension. It doesn't overpower, it doesn't distract you, but it adds an extra dimension to the smoke. And it was so good. Oh my gosh. Honestly.
Yeah. I sent it to Jay Furman and I sent it to Travis. They were the first 2 to get the samples of it. And they were like, they both said the same thing. This is not at all what I expected.
Right.
And, because Jay, when I was starting this, and I was talking to Jay, and he said, I'll send you King Stride and Cloud Hopper and Sensible Crow. And, just smoke. He sent me tins of each one of them. Smoke them. This is what Warped is doing with cigar leaf. And I smoked them, and I really liked Cloud Hopper and King Stride. I like King Stride, and Cloud Hopper was okay. And Sansa Pro was all right. It didn't move the needle for me. And I thought, man, this may be a mistake. And luckily I've got, $250 worth of this cigar leaf that I have no idea what to do with. And when I put the blend together, and the first batch I did was ribbon cut, and I thought, it's okay. And Jay says, press it. Just press everything. Okay, so I pressed it for him, and he, eventually but he really likes it. And then Travis was like, this is just a really elegant smoke. And I thought that was exactly how I felt about it. So
yeah. I mean, very impressed. Are you selling these yet?
Yeah, they're in the open line. They've been out for about, I think a month.
Okay.
But I have people ask about it, and then I'll order Thomas's blend in Port Marion. Okay, good enough.
Great. Port Marion is one of my all-time favorite blends. I mean, I could smoke that all day, every day. But
yeah, it gets a lot of run in my pipes too. So yeah. I like Port Marion. The dark fired Kentucky added a different dimension to the vapor, and I thought that was really cool.
Oh, so good. But honestly, the Glasgow Magistrate it blew my mind. I was really, really surprised.
Yeah. Well, try the Blind Monkey and.
Well, yeah, no, I've had that too. I'm gonna have it a couple more times before I post a review on that. But man, so good, very, very impressive.
Yeah.
So
thank you.
We have a comment here. What are your thoughts on Mountaineers Reserve version 2?
Oh, well, so the last show we did, we were talking about blending, and Jeff, West Virginia Cigars, called up and said, "What do you think about this blend?" And I said, "Yeah, that'll probably be pretty good." So we actually, Thomas and Travis and Jeff and I all got on a call, and I whipped it up. And I sent it to Jeff, and I said, "Tell me what you think, because this is your baby. You like it." And it was okay. And he goes, it's missing something. And I said, okay, I'm going to change. So I'm going to add a couple of things. I'm going to change the math a little bit. And I made a 2-ounce sample for myself.
Mm-hmm.
It's gone. I went through it.
That's good sign.
Because I really like it. And, everybody that knows me knows that I lean towards Latakia, Barrique.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the sweet spot for me. But when you look at your customer base and what people want, it's more vapors than Virginias.
Mm-hmm.
Colwyn Bay is a straight Virginia Navy. Connemara is a vapor, and Port Marion's a vapor, and they've consistently been good sellers. And a friend, Chris, called me up. He was watching one of the blending videos I did earlier this week and said, "Would you make me a straight red Virginia blend?" And so I did. It's called Red Castle. And I messaged him in the afternoon and say, "Hey, I just want you to know I put the video up." And I said, "I think this would be really good as a Navy." He goes, "Oh, I bet it'd be great as a Navy." So right after I posted the video, I made another batch and made it Navy. So he's going to try Red Castle and Red Castle Navy. That's his baby. And we'll see what he thinks. I'll smoke it and see what I think, but I'll send it to him because that's his baby. But Mountaineers Resolve is, if you like a deep, rich smoke
Mm-hmm.
that's got, here I'm going to be hyperbolic, it's a exquisite smoke.
Okay.
It's not, it's not. And see, Chris is even in the chats now, so he's watching. Hey, Chris. But that's part of the, what spawns the ideas for me are when, like Thomas's blend came up from a conversation with Thomas, and Fubar and First Sergeant's Cadence and Papelwick were conversations with Travis. And these conversations, people don't realize that I have these conversations. And I was talking to a friend on the Pacific Northwest tour, and he had placed an order. He says, "Hey, can I get some lemon leaf, just plain lemon leaf? I really want to try it. I don't want to buy a pound and shred it." So I sent it to him, and he says, "Wow, this is really lemony, citrusy." And I hadn't, I put it in Colwyn Bay, but I didn't use it a lot, and that spawned Fairborn. I thought, well, you know what? Let's make a vapor that's got a little citrus punch to it. And all those, I'm going to do a video tomorrow where it comes out. I've got 4 different blends that are come out of the press tomorrow, and I'll do a video taking them out, and we'll see what the tin note's like, and we'll kind of go from there.
Nice. That is awesome. That's exciting stuff.
Yeah. So if you're out there and you want to talk about blending, you have no idea how much it helps me, and it's immeasurable. You make suggestions, and I'll whip something up, and I'll do a video about it, and life will be good. You'll be famous.
That's the coolest thing, is you're willing to just talk to people and find out what they like to make them a custom blend. I mean, so I don't think a lot of people would do that. I think a lot of people would just make their blends and they're like, "Here, this is what it is. Buy it if you like it. Don't buy it if you don't." But you actually want to work with people to find out what they like.
Yeah. In fact, Roadkill Joe, who is just a wonderful artist. If you haven't seen him, go check him out.
With a cool nickname.
I'm going to work on an Irish blend for him tomorrow. He wanted a traditional Irish blend, and as an Irishman, I think I can pull that off. I'll find it out and see what we can put.
Exactly, going back to your roots.
So,
all right. So, look, I think we should start making a blend here. What do you think?
Okay. Well, first, I'm gonna tip my computer forward because I took my Frog Morton Cellar, and can everybody see the tray?
Yes, beautiful stuff.
Okay. So in this sample, I have identified 5 different blending
Wait a little bit.
components.
There you go. Perfect.
There we go.
Gotcha.
Okay. So in this, there's Latakia,
Mm-hmm.
there's a bright Virginia, there's a red Virginia, there's something I can't identify, and then there's stoved red Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
And I have no idea what this is. It looks like, because it all smells the same, because this is a 9-year-old sample, it all smells the same. It looks like dark fired Kentucky. So I went to tobacco reviews and I looked through, and nobody picked up on that aroma, that flavor, that profile in any of the reviews that I looked at. And there were only, I think, something like 1,800 reviews on Frog Morton Cellar. And I just couldn't read through them all. But, I looked for Jim Inks and Emeritus Account and some of the others that have, I really like what Jim does with his reviews, and I trust his, when he says something's in it, I believe him.
Sure.
And so this is what's in it. There's no real way to gauge the percentage because my sample is just too small.
Yeah.
But just picking it out, and you can see this is the pile that's left, and you can still see there's some yellow in it. There's some Latakia in it. There's still some stoved Virginia. So if you want to pull up the blending sheet, we'll start to go from there.
Sure, I'll pull that up. So while I'm pulling that up, do you think one of the reasons it's so hard to kind of recreate any of the McClelland blends is because it's so old, or because it's it hasn't been around a while, so it's all of it's aged, and it's sort of blended, all the aromas and flavors sort of blended together more over time, and it's just that much harder to sort of recreate what it would have been at the time.
Right. Well, there are several problems with recreating McClelland, and I'm going to tip this back up. Has everybody seen it? Everybody's got a good look what we're dealing with here?
Yeah, it looks good.
Okay. So I'm going to move the camera back up. There are several problems with trying to copy McClelland's. McClelland's bought a line of Virginia that was exclusive to them.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't recreate that at all. They also did something to the Virginia to age it, and I don't know if they just bought it in bulk for so long that we're going to buy it in 2008 and we'll use it in 2014, or there was a process they used. And there's not a mountain of information available about what McClelland did. And most of the blenders, you really don't get a lot of in-depth, this is what we did to get this. It's hit or miss. And like I said, it's impossible. First off, you don't have the same things they do. Second, you don't have the math. And third, it just says Virginias and Latakia, and everybody called it an English aromatic. And I think that's just because of the Jim Beam barrel stave.
Right.
And it's not that I have anything against Jim Beam in any way, shape, or form, but it's just not my favorite whiskey, and I probably wouldn't put it on anything ever. And that's why I'll use the quadruple flowered bourbon when we make this.
Okay, yeah. See, so I don't have a barrel stave handy, and so I'm gonna have to go and track one down to put into my blend.
Yes.
You gonna send me a chunk?
Yeah, I'll send you some. I've got a 5-pound box out in the garage, and I keep some. I keep 2 jars sitting on my desk that I soak. I get a little bit of sunlight on them.
Yeah.
And it really, these have been soaking, I think, 6 weeks now. So they're going to be good infused.
See, that's the good life. When you just always have a jar full of barrel staves on your desk, that's when you know you're doing something right in life.
Yeah. Well, and I had Tim from Papa Bear's Pipes. He put them into a vacuum,
Mm-hmm.
which was awesome. The problem was once I cut them out of the bag, they started to lose. It's not like I had to put them all in
Mm-hmm.
right into the tobacco right away because, when you try to fold it up or try to reseal the bag, it started to lose a little bit.
Right.
And I don't have a vacuum sealer, and I feel, I don't want to take advantage of anyone. You know what I mean? I mean,
No,
I just, I don't want to send Tim 5 pounds of barrel staves and say, hey, Tim, I know you don't have a business to run and you're not really making a lot of pipes. And then, and I sent him a handful of pipes that I wanted some new stems on. And
mm-hmm.
he's doing that. And he's getting ready to go to Florida for a couple of weeks or a couple of months because let's face it, weather in Ohio sucks.
Right now. Yeah, it's not great. There's nothing going on right now.
Snow, cold, rain, miserable. That's why y'all come down here to South Carolina, because
it's true.
It's just a little warmer here. But I don't know about you, but we've had enough rain that I'm starting to thinking about building an ark.
Oh, it's all frozen over up here. It's not good. But you're right. Tim from Papa Bear's Pipes is awesome. I commissioned a pipe from him for my 1,000 subscriber giveaway, which I'm way overdue on, like way overdue. So I'm about to make a video presenting the pipe that he made. It's still in the box. I haven't even opened it yet. But presenting the pipe that he made and going to give away a couple pipes. Obviously some Beaumont Supreme since he made the pipe, and possibly this.
Yeah,
with the 1,000 subscriber giveaway. So that'll be coming up soon.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and see if we can start blending this tobacco. Where should we start with this? What are we doing?
Okay, well, I like I said, I can identify 4.
Okay.
I can't identify the 5th. I really think, just by the way it looks and comparing it to other stuff, I think that it's dark fired Kentucky. Okay. Or a dark fired something. Mm-hmm. It's got, so when you pick up a piece of Latakia, you can see Latakia is very distinctive.
Mm-hmm.
Jim, hold up something microscopic in front of a really half-assed camera. Yeah. So because Latakia is fired for so long, mm-hmm. the leaves curl a little bit, and you can see that curl in them. Mm-hmm. Okay. And you can tell dark fired because it's not fired for the same length of time, mm-hmm. but it has some similar characteristics. So when you look at the two side by side, Latakia is almost always black, and dark fired Kentucky is typically a deeper brown, mm-hmm. but doesn't get to black.
Yeah. And
it looks like dark fired. And knowing that there's Jim Beam in this and how well dark fired behaves with bourbons and whiskeys, mm-hmm. I think that's what it is.
Okay. Makes sense.
I can't be sure. So if we go to the blending sheet, and now every review that I've read and what I smoked, I think that it's the 515 RC that will lead this blend.
Okay.
Then I think the Bright Virginia is next.
Okay.
And we're just going to knock them off and look at and go from there.
Sure.
And then I think that it's the Stove Red Virginia.
Okay.
And then we get to mystery, whatever it is, and the 5th thing is the Latakia.
Okay.
Okay, so if we want to gamble on my hunch, mm-hmm. that it's dark fired Kentucky, we can put dark fired Kentucky in the 4th spot. But I am by no means certain that is the case. I just don't know enough about McClelland mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. to say with 100%. The other 4, I can say for 100% because McClelland had a very special way of doing their stoved Virginia.
Mhm.
It's mechanically cut in like trapezoids. You can see the mechanical cut on all four sides.
Yeah.
That's how they did their stoved Virginia.
Yeah.
And when I smoke this blend, because it has a certain sweetness to it, I really think that plays a prominent role in how this blend gets to that English aromatic type of flavor to it. Now, is the McClelland Stove Virginia the same as the Stove that we're getting now? No, but there are some inherent similarities simply because it's stoved and it's red Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's the direction we go.
That makes sense.
But,
so just so everybody knows, after the show, I will be posting the component list, blend component list, and a link to the spreadsheet if you want to use the spreadsheet yourself or copy this blend. We'll also be taking a poll on how much hate mail you think we're going to get from this video. So we'll see.
Oh, a mountain. It will be a small mountain of hate mail. And like I never tell anybody that I can copy anything because I can't. I can tell you what we can make from it. I can tell you, just by these 5 ingredients, it's going to be, even if we completely screw up the math, it's going to be a very good blend because all 5 of these things go very well together. So I think we kind of trudge on from there.
I think you're right.
And I really don't think that this has what I would consider to be a mountain of Latakia. So we're going to work our way back up. And I would probably say it's somewhere in the 10 to 15% Latakia range. That's just my personal guess. So if I were going to guess at Latakia, my first guess would be 0.1, 10%. Because even as I went through this minuscule sample, there isn't a ton of it. It's very easy for me to pick out because I know what I'm looking for, but there's just not an abundance of it in it.
Makes sense.
Okay. So we've got 10% of the dark fired, or the Latakia. I think it's 10% for the dark fired as well, because again, this is not an overpowering English blend. It's very tame. It's again, it's an elegant blend. And I think you're putting them in the wrong box. Put them in the white box under the green. Yeah.
There we go.
All right. Because that box will populate once you.
There you go. See, that's why you're the pro. All right.
Okay. I think that stoved Virginia. So we've got 10%. So we've got 80 between 3. Correct? That's what we're looking at. I think stoved red Virginia is probably hovering somewhere in the 30% range.
Okay.
So I think if we go with 0.3, I think we're good. And then, see, I'm watching you do it, and I thought that I was in the same box, so 0.3. So now we're at 50% left, and I think if we split it between the bright and the red, that gets us to where we want to go. So if we go 0.25 and 0.25, and I think that gets us, the order of the pipe cellar blend. Okay.
I think that makes sense.
Now, if you'd like to, if anybody wants to argue with me or make a suggestion, or Wes, you think, no, Jim, obviously you're on drugs.
I don't see any complaints in the comments yet. All I keep seeing is Jim is the best.
Right.
So I think people have faith in you.
All right. Well, then let's start to put this together. I will I'm going to move this out of the way, and I'm going to bring my magic, and I'm going to tip this down a little bit so people can see this a little better.
Righty, let's do this.
All right. And I'm going to, because I'm going to send this to somebody, so I'm going to glove up here.
Same here.
Sounds like something fun to do. Dr. Jellyfinger is in the office.
I was going to say, I feel a lot more professional when I do this.
All right, kids.
Righty.
Cramp Easy Lube with bowls ready. We're clanking around the office. All right, so the 515 RC1, to make 4 ounces, we need an ounce. So let's measure out an ounce.
Alrighty, let's see. Where do I got it here?
And I want you to know how difficult it is to make a blending video without profanity, because it is an important part of my work.
Right. So the 515 RC1.
Mm-hmm.
What do they do to this to make it what it is?
I think it's aged Virginia with a little bit of vinegar on it. Vinegar was once upon a time used as a preservative for tobacco. And you notice when you smell it, if you check the tin note, it's kind of got that ketchup-y, vinegary smell.
Yeah. I was going to say, is this what's going to add that ketchupy flavor to the...
Yes,
frog?
And that's why I think, because when I smoked my couple of bowls of the Frog Morton, that was one of the flavors that I picked up, and that's why I think that needs to be a pretty stout percentage. 25%.
That makes
sense. Okay, and now we're going to put in an ounce of bright Virginia.
Alrighty. So the 515 RC is a Sutliff.
Yes.
That I just got mine off Smoking Pipes. I assume it's probably pretty common though, right?
It is. You can get it. You can get it at Four Noggins. You can get it at Pipes and Cigars. If you go to Pipes and Cigars now and order anything from Sutliff, if you upgrade, you spend $10, they'll upgrade and send you the Sutliff Mac Baron jar, which I will.
Cool. Yeah, I've seen those.
Yeah, I have several. So, and they're really nice jars. They're not that I have a preference to. I love smoking pipes. I like to patronize smoking pipes because we're both in South Carolina.
That makes
so today, Red Cavendish came back in stock at Smoking Pipes. They sent me an email, and I ordered 2 pounds of it, and it'll be here Monday. Pipes and Cigars is a little bit more sporadic, and the whole leaf companies, that's a different animal altogether.
Oh, really? I got to hear some stories about that at some point.
Yeah. So, okay. So now we're going to do stoved Virginia, and we're going to need 1.2 ounces.
Okay. I love the look of this stoved Virginia. I almost said stoned Virginia. Stoved Virginia. It's like so like chunky, and just like.
Yeah.
It's almost like burnt bread crust. It looks like. Oh, hang on. Hang on. My scale keeps turning off. And I got to reset the scale, so I got to pour the stuff back in the jar afterward. All right. Hang on.
No worries. This is your show, Wes. We can do this all night long.
Yeah, don't get carried away without me there. All right. Oh yeah, my family's long asleep. We're early to bed people.
Yeah. So also, today is my wife's birthday, and she was gracious enough to say, "You scheduled an interview with Wes on my birthday." Yes, I did.
Well, Mrs. Steffey, I apologize. I didn't know. Had your insensitive husband told me, I never would have suggested today.
Yeah. Well, it's
Sorry to get you
So
there.
if you all could take a moment in the comments and say happy birthday, Diane, because when she watches this, she'll see all the happy birthday messages come up, and I will have slightly redeemed myself in some manner.
Diane, happy birthday. So your wife actually watches your show?
Yeah, she likes to. Jim, why do you keep doing this? Nervous tick? I don't know. I don't realize that I'm doing half the things that I'm doing when I'm on. All right, are you ready for Dark Fired?
I am ready for Dark Fired.
Okay, so we need 0.4 of an ounce of Dark Fired. So
I love Dark Fired Kentucky. I'll smoke Dark Fired Kentucky just straight. I love this stuff.
I have found that it makes a whole lot of vapors and a whole lot of Virginia blends much more my speed.
Yeah.
I am one that will, I have some Mac Baron Virginia Flake and I have Orlick Golden Slice, and those are great Virginia blends. But when you look at so here we go, I'm going to nerd out on you guys. I keep a daily bowl record of what I smoke every day.
Nice.
And the pipes that I smoke it in. And if you look at the chart, you're going to say, well, Jim, you haven't smoked Orlick Golden Slice since you bought it in 21. Yeah, because I watched Simon. Simon says it's a lot better when it's got a year. It's really great if it's got 2. So I have a pound of it that sits comfortably in my dark closet waiting for its special moment. And I don't think 23 is going to be it. 24 maybe.
Wow. I'm going to start doing that. I'm going to start keeping a log of what I smoke.
Yeah, I just keep this little spreadsheet, and I made it easy. I put all my pipes on the spreadsheet and all the blends that I have, and just made life simple. So if anyone would like a copy of something this silly, I will happily send that to you as well. All right. Now we need 0.4 of an ounce of Latakia.
All right. This is gonna be good. I can already tell.
It has. So as I'm mixing it up here, and that's why I tip the camera angle up so that you can watch me run my fingers through the bowl. It has an excellent tin note.
Yeah. Yeah, this is going to be good. So aside from the 515 RC1 Virginia that adds that sort of vinegary note, what do you think really gave the Frog Morton blends, especially Cellar, its zing that people loved so much?
Now that I've disassembled the blend,
Mm-hmm.
I really think that they hit Dark Fired Kentucky in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
When I was looking at it, I was like, okay, this is Latakia. This looks a little bit like Latakia, but the color's wrong, and the way the leaf folds is wrong.
Yeah.
And the only thing that I could come up with, now maybe they had something that they fired in their plant in Missouri. Maybe they did something to something else, and I can only go by what's available to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I have some whole leaf dark fired, and I really like the dark fired that's available from C&D. I just think it's an excellent dark fire. And if I don't have to shred it, because people ask, how long does it take you to shred? It takes me about 3 hours to go through a pound.
Wow.
Well, yeah. So like on the Virginias, you have to strip them off the big stem, and then you kind of work through some of these secondary stems, and then you have to, you're just running it. I run it through a hand shredder,
Mm-hmm.
and it, depending on the moisture content. So if it comes moist, and that's not very often, it can get clogged up in the shredder, and you have to take the little pick and pick out the clumps, because if you don't, then you get you can get 4 or 5 different sizes in one pass, because if something gets clogged, it doesn't fit in the shredder right, or It moves the teeth around, and it just kind of makes it a joy.
Mm-hmm.
But some of the flavors, like the cigar leaf, lemon leaf, you can basically only get in whole leaf. Perique is now just impossible to get. Nobody's got it in stock. So I ordered 2 pounds of whole leaf Perique, which I think is excellent. So, and it comes in a package about this big. It's just so compressed down.
Wow.
And to shred it, you have to literally pull the leaves apart, pull the stems out, run it through the shredder. And, after about hour 2, the level of profanity that I use makes my confessions at church a lot more interesting. Jim, we noticed that you made that verb a noun, a word, a noun, a verb, and an adjective, and you used all of them in the same sentence.
Exactly.
I did.
Exactly. That's awesome.
Okay, so what do you smell when you're going through the tin?
I definitely pick up that vinegary note mostly from the 515.
Mm-hmm.
I am smelling the dark fired now that I'm thinking about it. I'm smelling the dark fired Kentucky. I'm not picking up. When I really dig my nose in there, I'm trying not to touch it with my nose actually, but when I really get in there, I can pick up the Latakias, but it's not overpowering.
Mm-hmm.
They just sort of meld together in a really unique way. This is a really interesting blend. What are you thinking?
Well, I'm definitely picking up the 515.
Mm-hmm.
I'm picking up a little bit of the Stove Virginia.
The stove. Mm-hmm.
And it's just got a slightly different aroma. I think that the bright Virginia is just in the bowl. I can't really smell it. I can pick up a little Latakia, and I can pick up the dark fired Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to tell you, this is a spectacular looking tobacco.
It's a nice looking blend. Just looking at it, it looks like what your blend to look like.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, this is going to be good. So, do you think this is the kind of blend that will do better with age? I assume it would.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because what's going to happen? So step B for me is I'm going to get. What's the little? Oh, here's the big one. So the next step for me is to take this and I'm going to put it in. So when I do something with a barrel stave,
mm-hmm.
I use the larger jars.
Okay.
Because I don't want it to compress.
Yeah.
While it's got the barrel stave. So I put. Well, let's do this first. Let's do it in order, Jim, because that'll make life easy. Yeah. Helpful tip, kids. Bourbon.
Right.
Sometimes eat your. There we go. Almost had to call my wife in here to open up my barrel staves. I don't want it to compress. I just want the barrel stave to be able to breathe through the blend. And that's why when people order Port Marnock or 10B Reserve, and I don't want them to be wet when they go in. If I put it in and it sticks, I've made it a little too wet. And then I will take the, okay, so that's 0 that out, so we got 0. No, not off. And I turned it off. There we go, 0. I put an ounce in. 7. Okay, so I've got an ounce. Drop the barrel stave in. Put it up to a little. Oop, let's not knock it over. And now we seal it up. And at the end of the show, we'll open up both of the jars and see what they smell like with, so that everybody knows I don't have a deal with them. I don't want to insult them in any way, shape, or form. But I think Four Roses is just absolutely an exquisite bourbon to use. I like it a lot. I like the way it smells. I like the way it behaves.
Well, look, if you can get a deal with the Four Roses distiller, who makes Four Roses? Is that that's not Buffalo Trace, is it?
No, it's Four Roses.
It is just Four Roses. Okay, yeah. If you get a deal with them, look, I'm all for it. You should totally brag about that if you can.
Well, some people might take offense to that, Les. I'm not sure. So,
look, I am all about being endorsed and endorsing, especially if it's cool bourbon, and that's pretty cool bourbon. So,
yeah.
So how long do you think this should sit in a jar before you should really give it a taste?
So if you're asking me how quickly I would test it, I would let it sit for 24 hours.
Okay.
So because it's Saturday night, I would probably wait until Monday morning to give it at least a fighting chance of getting that bourbon aroma through a majority of the leaves.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. So
go ahead.
No, I was going to say, so this is not one that you would recommend pressing necessarily, because you obviously want to keep it with a stave or.
Yeah, I wouldn't. If somebody wanted it cased, so and wanted it pressed, okay, then it's a different process. Then we take, and I made a video about doing casing with Montrose Navy. It doesn't take a lot of rum. It doesn't take a lot of bourbon. So if you're making 6 ounces, maybe 2 squirts, swish it around, 3 squirts out of a spray bottle, swish it around again, another 2, and you've got it all covered. Let it sit till the alcohol evaporates. It dries out a little bit. Put it in the press. Off you go.
Okay.
But I think that I haven't ever pressed Port Marnock and Tenby, simply because I like the barrel stave going in it. So.
Yeah. No, and those are amazing. You've sent me a couple that have your barrel staves, and it's funny, just the extra dimension that it adds to the blend. That, I mean, I didn't expect it to make that big a difference, but it really does.
Yeah, it does. And again, you watched me dry it off. It doesn't have to be wet. It doesn't have to be soaking. And I think that gradual infusion of bourbon is why McClelland did it, and I think that it's genius. And I hate to stand on the shoulders of geniuses, but they left and we're here. So
look, none of us would be here if we weren't standing on somebody's shoulders. It's fine. I didn't invent this computer I'm talking on. I didn't invent this chair I'm sitting on, but I'm more than willing to use it to my own ends.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I've heard that, and I haven't tried them side by side, so I can only say that I've heard this. I've heard that American Patriot from Missouri Music is sort of the Diet Coke of Throgmorton Cellar. Have you tried the two side by side at all?
I have not. I have not tried it, but that's the problem with pipe tobacco. There's only a couple of thousand blends.
Right. Exactly. Fair point.
Yeah. So for me, I'm probably at 200, 250 blends that I've tried. I think I cellar 70 blends. It's hard for me because when I find something I like, I really didn't deviate from it. And if somebody wants me to copy something, like Jay was kind enough to send me the cigar leaf blends when I was working on the cigar leaves. And, you know, if you have something that you want on and you have a sample of something that you're looking for, if you send it to me, it makes it a lot easier for me.
Right.
Because, you know, if it's something that, you know, straight Virginias are just not, I have 2 in my collection, you know, that just doesn't ring with me. You know, I make Kilkenny, which is a straight Virginia. I make Colwyn Bay Navy, which is straight Virginia with Navy. I've got Redcastle Inn. That's a straight Virginia. I prefer vapors. I like Perique. You know, Latakia, Perique, Darkfire. You're pretty much going to find one of those in about everything I do.
Sure. That makes sense. So if you could, what is the blend that you have the most of in bulk in your cellar?
Oh, Savinelli, Asenza Cipriati.
Now, what is that? What is in that blend? What style is that? What is in that?
That's the English blend that has a red wine casing.
Nice. And I noticed one of your newer blends that you sent me, is a vineyard blend.
Yep. I don't know if I sent you a Waterford or a Falkirk.
Let me double check the name on that.
All right.
Let's see. That is.
Meanwhile, while Wes is off the screen and walking around in his pajamas, let's talk about something important.
It is. Hey, these are sweats, not pajamas. Although, I do wear a lot of sweaters that happen to look like a bathrobe. So I have to keep telling people on my Teams meetings at the office that I'm not wearing a bathrobe. It's a sweater, I promise. You sent me the Falkirk.
What did I send you? Falkirk?
Yeah.
So that is the English with the red wine casing.
Yeah, that is good stuff. Man.
Yeah, isn't that neat? I like that one. And that was, again, a suggestion. Jay Furman, I said, hey, I'm going to make this. I said, do you have a red wine suggestion? Because my limit of red wine is, oh, I don't like that. Oh, I really don't like that. Oh, I hate that. I'm just not a red wine drinker. It's not a thing for me. I would just never acquired the taste for red wine. He says, well, get Josh's blend. I said, okay. And I picked up a Josh's, and it was a cab. And I liked the way it smelled on the tobacco. I pressed it. I thought it was really good. I smoked some of it. You know, again, it's hard for me because every new blend that I make or every new thing that I work on, you know, I'm trying to get 6 to 10 bowls before I get it out to somebody, and it cuts down on my, hey, what are you smoking for fun? Well, I'm smoking my 8th bowl of this.
Right. So what's your default go-to? Like if you're going out to the garage, you're doing some work, and you don't want to think about a tobacco, you just pull something random off the shelf. What is it usually more often than not?
My blends or somebody else's blends?
Whoever you want to talk about. I'm not telling you to promote any competitors, but whatever it just happens to be.
If it's where I'm doing serious work, where I've got the drill press going and I don't want to think about it at all, it is Acadian Perique. It is Port Marion.
Oh, yeah.
It is Tenby. What was the other? Irish Flake from Peterson's, or Bold Kentucky from Mac Barron.
Yeah, all that stuff. That's great. That is awesome. I think I told you I bought some tobacco in bulk recently before our last interview, and it was 6 pounds of luxury bullseye flake. So
there you go.
I stocked up while I could.
Yeah, taking that whole cellaring deep and not wide thing seriously. So.
Well, you know, it's one of those that, like, you know, when you want it, but it's always sold out everywhere. That's the problem with some of these things. Like whenever I find brown Irish twist, you know, I got to buy a few feet of rope of that because it's sold out everywhere constantly. You can never find the stuff.
Yeah.
So I think we actually have a little bit of homework to do. So I think when you think the blend is ready, what you should do is you should take the remainder of the Frog Morton Cellar that you have and compare it to what we just made. And I don't have any Frog Morton Cellar. If anybody has any they want to send me, I'll be more than happy to take it off your hands. But I'll take the American Patriot that I have down below, and I'll do the same. I'll compare it to what we have. Now, look, they're not going to be the same. I think that's to be expected. But it'd be interesting to see a side by side and see how they stack up.
Well, it's going to be an unfair comparison because this
Right.
is 9 years old.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be
exactly.
a newborn. And like I tell everybody, New Virginia is completely different than aged Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you get a tin of Escudo, or you get a tin of Orlik Golden Slice, or
Mhm.
you get a tin of a Virginia forward blend,
Mm-hmm.
and you get the tin and you open it and you smoke it, and then you take the second tin that you bought with it and put it in your cellar and let it set for a year, and then take it out and smoke it.
Mm-hmm.
It's different and it's better. Aged Virginia.
Right.
I have 3 pounds of red Virginia sitting in my closet that's aging now, that I won't use in any of the blends. I'll just I want to sit on it and see what it does just in a jar by itself. And then when it's ready, it will come out. And if it's good, what I'll do as I go forward then is put red Virginia aside, and every year come out with, you know, this is the, you know, so that'll be the 2022
Right.
Virginia, you know, and that's the advantage that, you know, the big houses, the Cornell and Deals and the Mac Barons, they've got pallets that they sit, you know, when they came out with the C&D, the commemorative, you know, with Virginias from 1994 till whatever, 1990, whatever it was, they had 20 years of Virginias that they could pull from, and that was probably an exquisite blend. Somebody, if somebody's had it and can tell me, y'all know how I feel about limited editions and
Yeah, exactly.
and unobtainium, you know.
Right.
Age.
Yeah,
You know,
I know. I'm one of those suckers who always falls for it, though. I see a limited edition, I'm like, I gotta get it. The collector in me just goes crazy.
Yeah, and see, I'm the exact opposite way, and it's I blame entirely Haunted Bookshop.
Okay. How so? It's always available.
Well, the problem is that I was looking at reviews and everybody raved about Haunted Bookshop, and I love Burley blends. I like Burley. I use dark Burley in a lot of stuff. I love how dark Burley goes with Perique, and I bought a pound of Haunted Bookshop.
No.
No. In fact, I thought it can't be. It can't be this matched to my palate. Maybe my pipe was bad. I had it and put it in a second pipe.
Yeah.
No, it's just not for me. It's not for me at all. In fact, I cleaned the first pipe. I smoked it out. I cleaned it, gave it an alcohol bath, buffed it up, sold it to the neighbor, and then mailed off the Haunted Bookshop to anybody that.
It was that bad that you felt that it ghosted your pipe that much that you had to get rid of the pipe.
Oh, I was so mad at it. I didn't want that pipe to even be in the collection anymore.
Oh man, you know what? There is a blend that does that for me, and I can't smell this stuff from across the room without trying to leave the room. It's Ennerdale. That Lakeland kind of
that weird geranium smell.
Oh, I hate. It's like somebody put dish soap in my pipe. I can't stand it.
You know, the one that gets me are cherry aromatics. You know, when I was in my refurbishing phase, and you got a hold of a pipe that had that cherry ghost in it.
Yeah.
Oh. And you know what's great about the pipe community is that there's something for everyone. There are a lot of people that like cherry aromatics, and I am not in that case. It's okay.
Yeah.
You know, and everybody has their favorites, and everybody has what they like and dislike. But for me, you know, and here's something else I'm going to tell you. And I typically don't like to talk about things I don't like, but I'm on a roll. The other blend that I bought that I wouldn't even give it away. I bought 2 tins of Nightcap.
Okay. Yeah.
and it's an English blend, and everybody raves about it, and it just missed my palate. I thought it was horrible. I just didn't like it at all. It didn't resonate with me. I didn't understand. Everybody says, "Oh, you've got to eat this on a full stomach," and say, "Yeah, well, yeah, so you have something to throw up when you're done."
So you're saying you have some strong feelings about some popular blends out there, is what you're trying to say?
Yeah, I do, and I feel too. And here's the thing: is that I love a ton of Peterson stuff. I love Irish Flake, and I love University Flake, and I have both of those Cellar, and I love Elizabeth. There's a word there that I'm going to use, and I'll get to it in a minute. Elizabethan mixture.
There you go.
And My Mixture 965 and Yacht Club.
Mm-hmm.
Those are all excellent blends, and it happens. It's it's like that. Everybody in their line has a dud, and I'm sure I've got more than a couple.
Right, right. So that kind of leads me to another kind of question that kind of goes back to the McClelland stuff. Is a lot of times people see these big popular names from different brands, and everybody hypes up this or that blend, and you're not a real pipe smoker unless you smoke this or that, and if you're still kind of new into it, you're like, okay, I'll go ahead and buy some of that because everybody else seems to like it, and they just kind of force their way through it even if they don't like it. Do you think the McClelland blends would be as popular as they are if McClelland were still around? Like, do you feel like I've heard the argument that a lot of people probably wouldn't like Frog Morton that much if they were still producing it because that flavor isn't for everybody.
Well, there were a lot of blends under the Frog Morton.
Well, right, yeah. There's the Cellar. There's On the Town. There's yeah,
Across the Pond. There was a whole bunch of different under the Frog Morton label.
Mm-hmm.
We tend to, as a rule, society tends to gloss over things that are no longer available and shine them in a different light.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea. It's not like I can pull up McClelland sales and say it was this or it was this or it was this. But now that it becomes such a collector's item, I don't know if this is the Beanie Baby effect or this is, that it had this deep of a following. Because here's what leads me to believe that I don't think that was the case.
Okay.
Is because I never hear somebody saying, I have 8 pounds of it in my cellar, or I have 4 or 5 pounds of it in my cellar.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see that a lot. So that, when they knew they were going to hang it up, because they were talking about hanging it up for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. McClelland was getting old, and I'm sure he just burned out at some point. And nobody was, nobody cellared it very deeply. Mutton Chop, who absolutely loved Frog Morton,
mm-hmm.
laments the fact that he didn't cellar deep on that. And I was like, well, if you love the blend,
right,
what were you doing?
Right. So if it were still around, would it be as sought after as it is now? I don't know.
I think what it would be more like is esoterica. Right.
Which that actually really does annoy me. That really annoys me. That esoterica is so impossibly hard to get. I mean, it gives a new definition to small
unobtainium.
Unobtainium. You got to be a Aboriginal blue person from another planet to find this stuff.
It's incredibly hard to get, and I think that's what McClelland's would be if it were out now. That it would be an unobtainium. That they would do their 1,000 or 2,010s and they'd be gone.
Yeah.
And nobody could cellar it deeply enough. And that might have been the case. Unfortunately, I can't speak for what happened before I came back.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the trends now, the houses have come up with special limited edition blends. So nobody can, if you're bulking up on it, you've got that 2-hour window to make a decision where I'm going to put 2 pounds, 3 pounds in my cellar and hope for the best.
Right.
It's from a business model, I completely understand why they do it. I get it. It's smart business. but it's not. But to me, it kind of, I don't. The YTPC and Instagram pipe communities are just the most generous, kind-hearted, wonderful people on the planet.
Absolutely.
Totally. And you're going to put a gun to their head and make them make a snap decision on something. and I just think that's you're taking advantage of some of the best people on the planet. So me personally, I don't begrudge anyone making a living, and I don't begrudge the decisions they make. Mm-hmm. But personally, it rankles me, and I won't do it.
Right. No, totally. And you know what? I think you're actually seeing some of that backlash of certain companies taking advantage of the FOMO for small batches, and now it's kind of biting them a little bit. I don't usually call out, brands that do this, but here's this one specific example that I think is sort of biting them a little bit, is C&D. When they put out Folklore last year, they made 1,000 pounds of this stuff, and it sold out within minutes, like minutes. The site was crashed forever. If you got a pound of this stuff, you were lucky. And it literally sold out within, I think, 40 minutes. It was all gone. And this year, they re-released it at more reasonable time. It wasn't a midnight release. It was a 6 p.m. release. But I think they made, I didn't even open mine yet. The box is still sealed. I didn't even see. I think it's 3,000 pounds this year. And it's still available on smoking pipes. There was just not the rush for it this year for a couple different reasons. But I think one of those reasons is people got such a, this is not directed at the blend itself, but people got such bad taste in their mouth because of what happened last year. They're just holding off this year and saying it's not worth my time.
Yeah, that's part of the trend. If you're in, I'm sure, consumer lines and what people buy and how they buy. Mm-hmm. As we watched through the fake pandemic, how much it affected how people bought things. Before the pandemic, I had spent over the course of 3 years $222 with Amazon. Mm-hmm. During the pandemic, I was a frequent flyer.
Yeah. Oh, Jeff Bezos made out like a thief during 2020, didn't he? Holy moly!
Yeah, he did. And when you look, how much did it change? Well, people got so accustomed to buying online, it gave the impetus to do these things because they're going to come to smoking pipes, they're going to come to pipes and cigars, they're going to go to Four Noggins, all of the online shops that you can buy from. Mm-hmm. And it gave them the impetus to do this. And again, when it works, it's great. One of the and you started to see it. I think the Palmetto Balkan was the one where the worm started to turn.
You're right,
because I think that's still available, and that's been out for a while.
Really, I got a couple tins of that right over there. I didn't know that was still available. Holy moly!
Yeah, hold on a second. I'll tell you here in a minute. I've got. Oh no, let's go to 10.
There are a couple small batches that are definitely still available on there after a long time. There's who makes Lord Morgan, I think, is still on there, and that was a super small batch. So there are a few that are still sticking around. That's really surprising me.
It doesn't surprise. Yeah, Palmetto Balkan is finally out of stock.
Okay.
But when I look at ESF sales, Balkans are not the hot ticket. Mm-hmm. People just don't buy Balkans, and maybe it's because it was a Balkan in this Virginia preferred world. Maybe that was it. But for it eventually it will bite them, and the problem is that can you recreate it and make it open line so that people can get it? Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and I think that's kind of how people should look at it.
You're totally right. So Richard T says, remember, for those of us outside the U.S., we have an even harder time finding any blends, and that's totally true. I mean, it's. I haven't seen this. I haven't checked overseas myself, but you always hear people saying that a single tin of tobacco can cost like 50 pounds. Uh, in so we probably easily look that up. But I was looking at a story about New Zealand. So New Zealand, this doesn't relate back to premium tobacco, I don't believe, but I know cigarettes. They're actually putting an age limit, a rolling age limit on who can buy cigarettes. So eventually the age limit's going to be so high, it doesn't matter how old you are, you can't buy cigarettes anymore. So they're just aging out people who can buy certain types of tobacco. And I don't think premium cigars are premium tobaccos, cigars and pipe tobacco are very far behind.
Well, cigar prices have jumped dramatically, and that's been going on for a couple of years. But now it's really kind of reached a zenith. Jack Ryan and Simon at LCS have frequently commented how expensive cigars have gotten in the UK, and that's an external influence versus because the Chinese market is buying them up as fast as the makers will make them, and they're paying a premium for it.
Yeah.
Luckily, pipe tobacco hasn't caught on in China.
Yet. There are people on Instagram that are in China. So Richard T says he's in Canada. He pays $75 a tin. Is that for a 2-ounce tin?
Yeah.
What size tin? For a 2-ounce tin, $75? If that were in the U.S., if prices were like that in the U.S., which a lot of people would like, not smokers, but a lot of people would like in government right now, I mean, it would just destroy the industry. Can you imagine? Just overnight, it would destroy the industry.
Yeah, and don't vote for a nanny state.
That's what it comes down to. So look, I specifically try to steer away from politics on the shows that I do. I can do a couple different shows, but sometimes, especially when you're talking about something like tobacco, I mean, you can't talk about it without getting into politics at some level. Because there are so many people in power who just have this bug up their butt about tobacco, whether it's because they lump everything into this cigarette realm. They don't differentiate between the premium tobaccos, cigars and pipe tobacco, versus, cigarettes. And it's a shame because they're completely different animals.
Well, here's the horseshit side of that argument. When they stand out in front of McDonald's and start picketing, because more people die of heart disease from obesity.
You're right.
Than all of the smokers for the last 30 years combined.
Mm-hmm. You're 100% right. But you know what? If they even thought of putting limitations or raising the taxes that high on fast food, every single one of them would be voted out of office the very next day. But they do it to something like tobacco, where they can sort of edge their way in to it within smaller niches. Then they get away with it. Then they do it because then it's for the public health. But fast food, that's perfectly fine. That's okay.
Yeah. You need to have an 1,800 calorie Big Mac and your 600 calorie fries and a Diet Coke, because I believe, according to the CDC, if you have a Diet Coke with it, it nullifies 65% of the calories. So go ahead, choke a couple of those down. And I'm not a skinny guy by any stretch of the imagination. But these are choices that you make. And anytime anybody wants to take a choice away from me, I get a little salty about it.
Yeah. 100%. I totally agree. But Jim, what you're misunderstanding, what you don't understand, Jim, is that soda is really good for you. It's actually the corn syrup. It's made from corn. It's good for you.
Does it have electrolytes?
It has electrolytes, exactly. Plants love electrolytes. I love that.
Yeah.
You've ever seen, I assume you're referencing Idiocracy.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody out there watching and listening, I'm telling you, watch the movie Idiocracy, especially before you vote. It will change your life.
Well, no, I'm not going to say anything.
Uh-oh.
I'm really not.
I have no idea where you're going with that, but I can only imagine.
Oh,
you're going to get me in trouble.
Yeah. Just remember, kids, the conspiracy theorists are currently 42-0.
That's true. It's funny. The longer we wait, the more conspiracies turn out to be true. Look, in 2020, the government publicly started acknowledging UFO and technology that is not of this world, and it doesn't even make the front page. Nobody, like, that's the world we live in now. Nobody even seems to care that the government's actually acknowledging UFOs.
Yeah.
Like, it's, the whole world is upside down.
Do you trust anything that the government tells you about any subject at this point? They could tell me the sun rises in the east, and I am pretty much going to not believe them.
I don't think anybody believes anything anymore. That's the problem. On both sides, nobody believes anything anymore.
No, and yeah, and Richard just said my tin hat is primed and ready. Yeah. Yeah. I don't mean to alarm you, Richard. You all voted for Trudeau twice now.
Look, other countries, I don't know. I try to stay out of, I don't talk about politics when I go online, and I especially try not to talk about politics from other countries because I'm not that knowledgeable about other countries' politics. But, like, come on, man. That's all I can say. I don't know.
Let's go back to pipe tobacco. We can talk about that. And
that's safe. That is safe.
Yeah. So, I actually turned down a job in Massachusetts because when I looked into a license for pipe tobacco blending, they flat out told me no.
Really?
And I'm like, what do you mean? Because, well, if you want to sell tobacco, you have to do it in a storefront. Okay, well, I'm doing custom pipe tobacco. I'll never sell enough to keep a store open. The overhead would just be, then you can't do it here. And I'm like, well, what about? And they said, well, if they were like LJ Peretti's is in Boston, and they just grandfathered those folks in. And if you want to be new and coming into the market, you have to open a storefront. You have to sell. The list of requirements is ridiculous, and just no. It basically just said no. And so as I'm in the process of changing careers, and we're getting ready to move to Florida.
Mm-hmm.
I have to move to a red state where I can actually do this from my home. And it's just impossible anyplace else.
I would say no matter where you move, like, check the laws there if you actually want to do something when you move there. I mean, did you see the interview with Alan Harrison from the Pipe Cottage that I did?
Oh, yeah.
He bought 170 acres in Kentucky, and he was going to open a really good B&M for the Pipe Cottage near his home, near this giant piece of land that he bought. And it turned out that he couldn't get a license to sell tobacco in his own state that he moved there specifically to do.
Well, he could, but the problem is Kentucky wants to know the names and addresses of all your customers.
Well, and that's it too. And not just his customers from that point forward. The thing is, they wanted all of the data from all of his customers in the past, which, I mean, he wasn't selling tobacco in the past. He had his company, but they wanted all of his customers from that company into the past. And, like, he might have saved that, but he might not have, at which point, what's he supposed to provide to the government? On top of that, it's none of the government's business who he's sold to in the past. Like, they don't need their private data. So I don't blame him for kind of backing out. It sounds like he's starting to gear things back up a little bit. I know he opened his e-com shop back up, I think. So I got to get him back on the show, but I don't know. No matter where you go, there's all these weird hoops you got to jump through, especially with things like tobacco.
Oh, it's a little easier here than probably any place else. Florida, I would put right there with it. Georgia alternates between being okay and slightly more difficult. Oklahoma's okay. Texas is okay. Even what's really surprising is South Dakota and North Dakota are really getting weird. North Dakota's got a bill on the books right now that to buy tobacco in the state, it has to be a face-to-face transaction. You can't order it online. You can't buy anything mail order. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, that kills your business then. That's weird.
Yeah. And I feel terrible for California because, the state decided they didn't want to pass, they passed that referendum that flavored tobacco was out because they thought they were killing menthol cigarettes. Well, I have some deep, dark secrets for you about cigars and pipe tobacco, kids. according to that law, about 90% of the stuff that's on the market right now is going to vanish from California.
Yeah, you're right. And that's a real shame too, because if you go to Northern California, it's completely different from Southern California. In fact, there's almost perpetually some sort of a petition or something going around trying to secede, have the Northern California secede from Southern California.
We'd like to be part of Idaho.
Right? Like they're trying. It'll never happen, but they're trying because it's the people are that different. But the problem is I mean, yeah, there's this war on tobacco right now because again, the people in charge aren't differentiating between the premium tobaccos and cigarettes.
Well, yeah, I brought it up with the parsimonious piper yesterday. You know, the average tobacco blend for a pipe tobacco, you know, about the max percentage you're ever going to get of nicotine is 5%, which is a really stout blend. You know, when you look at nicotine levels in Virginia's, you look at nicotine levels in Latakia, it's negligible. You know, there's just not that much nicotine in it. You know, you get up, you jump a little bit in some of the Orientals, and you know the biggest hitter is the Burley for nicotine levels, and it's minimal. You know, you know, one cigarette is like 10 bowls of pipe tobacco as far as nicotine goes.
Oh yeah, but it's not even really the nicotine that's the worst thing in cigarettes. It's all the chemicals.
Well, I mean, don't you want ammonia B on your pipe tobacco? Because I sure do.
Well, I specifically add it to my pipe tobacco. I buy it in bulk.
Yeah, I buy a 55-gallon drum and just shower myself in that stuff. So.
Exactly. So Benjamin Carter says you're moving to Florida. What's taking you to Florida? Just seems like.
My daughter and son-in-law and the grandkids are in Florida, and we moved to Arizona because the job took me there, and the kids were in Indiana, and then they moved to Florida about 10 years ago, and I had an opportunity to come to the Carolinas, which is much closer to Florida, and now we'd really like to, you know, to spend more time with the daughter and son-in-law and the grandkids, and we'd rather do that. And I like to fish with my son-in-law. He's just one of the most amazing people I've met on this planet, and I think my daughter is just an amazing person, and want to spend time with him.
Yeah,
the clock's ticking. My beard gets grayer every day.
Well, look, I just got mine. I think I still got a couple of years before mine starts to get gray.
No, your clock's ticking because you're going to have a daughter that turns into a teenager in 8 years.
Look, I've already told my wife when my daughter's a teenager, I'm moving out. So you might get somebody sleeping on your couch in a couple of years. By the way,
fair enough.
So Thunderstick Homestead, thanks for watching. He said the Dr. Harrelson show was how he found this channel. So that was actually a really good interview. I got to try and get him back on. That man has some strong feelings. He was holding back the interview. He had some really strong things to say. He and I actually met up at the Columbus Pipe Show pretty shortly after that interview, and I heard some of his sort of offline comments, and boy, he can let it rip when he wants to. Get some bourbon in that man, and it's a very different conversation.
Well, I think that he's an elegant spokesperson for the YTPC. I know there was a little drama about something he said a couple of weeks ago, and I avoid drama, so I really don't care.
Right.
But you have to admire a man that has those type of convictions. When you look at what you want your kids to be, you want them to have those strong convictions. You want them to have that faith-based life. And as an eloquent a speaker as he is, I mean, what a fantastic presence in the YTPC. Just
oh my gosh, yeah, he's so well spoken.
I love Alan. I love his stuff. I watch all of his videos. I think he's just outstanding, and he's someone I think that we could emulate. Does he come off as haughty at times? Yeah,
we all do.
Okay. Yeah, we all have our things that we like and we don't like, and we all have our beliefs and what we don't believe, and And that's okay. The great thing about the YTPC is this is just an open and welcoming community. The common thread among pipe smokers, and why I admire them so much, is that they're contemplative. You can't really smoke a pipe and not be contemplative, because you have that time when you're alone with your pipe and a good tobacco, where you get to take time to think about things. And in a world that doesn't think about things, where we have an attention span of 3 seconds and meme level intelligence, that a pipe smoker is a different cut from a different cloth. And that's what I think really makes it special. These are, some of the most gracious, warm people. The friends that I've met in the pipe community, I'll keep those for a lifetime. And people that I knew for a lifetime, I can barely talk to some of them anymore. They just, oh, did you hear about this? Oh, yeah, that thing that got discredited? Yeah, I did. Oh. And they just don't, there isn't that depth of thinking that you see. And that's why I think that the YTPC is so special.
Oh, 100%.
And the Instagram pipe community. I mean, these are, you just won't find better people on the planet. And I love, if I can just be a small part of it, thrilled as I can be.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Everybody that I've been lucky enough to interact with is just the nicest, most generous people. Like, people who don't even know you, have never met you, but they've seen a couple of your videos, or they've, interacted with a post or something. If you were to just offhandedly mention that you need something, or you have some sort of a problem, you'll have 10 guys at least jumping on there offering to help you. It's just amazing, the generosity and just the welcoming, feeling that you get from this whole community. And, I think this is the thing about, like, new pipe smokers. This is kind of how I've gotten the feeling from other people who've approached me. A lot of new pipe smokers, they come in and they're kind of intimidated because they don't have the knowledge. They don't know what blends are this or that. And they kind of might feel at first like they're just sort of inadequate, or they don't quite fit in. But I haven't seen a single person, badmouth or start drama or, make fun of anybody for being less experienced than somebody else. They just want to come in and help.
Oh, this is the example I'll give. New pipe smoker got on Instagram and said, hey, I'm new, I'm learning. And within about 15 minutes, his message on his post was filled with, hey, if you want to learn this, here's video X, Y, and Z. Or if you want, and just people volunteering to help them. And where do you see that anyplace else in the world today?
Oh, yeah.
It's just magnificent, and you watch, you belong to a couple of chat groups, or you get on Discord, and they're just the nicest, funniest people you're going to meet. And how can you not want to be a part of it? And I love seeing the next generation come up, because they're, they take to it so wholeheartedly. They found a place where they can fit in. They found a place where it's welcoming. And I don't think that there's any place that's more welcoming than the pipe community. Yeah,
you couldn't be more right, honestly. You occasionally hear some background rumblings about some drama happening over here on the YTPC, or, some people who are starting some drama over there. And I guess I've been lucky enough not to really be exposed to that. Like, I really haven't seen any of that. And if I did, I would avoid it. But it's so strange that you occasionally hear that, but I've literally never seen it.
Yeah, it's very rare. And again, my thought process on drama is, that's between you two. I'm not going to get involved. I'm not jumping in. I'm not going to jump on either side and say this is right or this is wrong. That's a disagreement between you two, and you two work it out.
Right, exactly. By the way, Benjamin Carter says he found this show from your tobaccos. So I think he was looking for you and found this show on accident. So, Benjamin, thanks for coming on board. Jim is amazing. So I'm just lucky enough he's willing to, spend his time here. And Benjamin Carter also says Captain Kirk 32 has a live spin and smoke. I'm not sure what that means. At 1 Eastern tomorrow. He says it's a lot of fun. So I'm going to try and check that out. Captain, yeah. I assume that's on YouTube.
I would assume so. So here's an idea. You and I talked about doing a blending show once a month, and I was thinking about doing it on the Pipe Hooligan channel.
Okay.
where just get on and do a live. And if you guys have any comments, or if you're watching this later and you think that that would be excellent, leave a message in the comments, or contact me directly, because I think every week would be a bit excessive, but I think once a month would be excellent. And if you want to talk about blending, and I try to encourage as many people as I can to blend at home, because eventually they're going to stop us from buying pipe tobacco from
Yeah.
outlets. And you know good and well that there's still going to be people that grow pipe tobacco, you know, that they're going to grow tobacco, and the sooner you learn how to blend your own, the better off you'll be. And you know, I can make a pound of tobacco for a fraction of what you'll pay for.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're totally right. I mean, you can buy tobacco seeds anywhere. I mean, I bought some at a home and garden show not too long ago. Have you thought about growing your own tobacco just for, just for fun?
You know, that was a thought. If we were going to stay in South Carolina, I would probably buy a farm, and I would, because this is tobacco country up in this part of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking about growing my own. In fact, I bought a couple of books about growing tobacco. You know, even I bought a book from 1894 about the tobacco, how people grew tobacco back then, and what their plans were. And I bought a modern book and what they're doing now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very serious thought that I have. And if I ever got a piece of land where I could, you know, cultivate some different crops, I probably would.
That's pretty cool, though. I'm tempted. So I have some seeds actually. I'm going to try and grow some just in pots, nothing fancy, but just to see what comes out. I mean, if it comes out like leaves off the tree and it burns terribly, I mean, it's a learning experience. But I think it's fun. But everybody should learn how to blend. I mean, you're right. It's only a matter of time before things get more and more restrictive. So, absolutely.
Well, you know, and the other thing, and I've talked about this on multiple platforms and multiple times, you know, when you try the individual components and smoke them by themselves, it might change your opinion of certain things that you liked or didn't like.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll start to find out that you can come up with your own personalized blends that are just for you. And I don't think there's anything more powerful than that. So,
yeah, no, it makes sense. So, Aromatics says, quick hi guys, he's pretty much set on pipe tobacco, but now he's collecting cigar tobacco. Does that mean you're actually collecting like cigar leaves? Or what does that mean? Are you just collecting cigars? I have a great cigar collection too. I was actually into cigars before I was into pipes. Jim, how are your feelings on cigars?
Yeah, well, we'll see what he has to say. It's a different, growing is a different animal altogether, you know, because when you talk about Virginias, if you don't flue cure them or have a curing process, they never really get rid of that hay grassy note. It just kind of tastes like lawn clippings. I mean, it's a plant, and if you don't dress it up a little bit, I mean, that's what makes Latakia special. It makes Perique, there's a process to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not really sure, how that'll play out, but that's something I would love to do. I would love to grow my own,
Right.
My wife isn't really excited about farming, but, she's been married to me for 35 years. She knows that I'm a little different.
Yeah, she doesn't see it coming by now. That's kind of her own fault.
Yeah. So yesterday, my wife and I we had to go run to the store real quick and came back, and there were a bunch of boxes on the porch. She goes, "Oh, what do we get?" "Well, honey, I bought you some whole leaf tobacco. I hope you enjoyed it."
Happy Valentine's Day.
Yeah, I've got some stuff to shred.
There you go. So Linford Toy says he prefers to leave it to the experts. And look, I can't say I blame him because, look, there's people way more talented blending tobacco than myself. And then Aromatic says, yeah, he has sealed pounds of whole leaf cigar tobacco. So that's awesome. Are you aging it for any specific reason, or Jim? You said that you're aging some tobaccos just to test and see how they turn out later.
Yeah, I just want to see how they respond. Because when you put tobaccos together and age them, it's different because they're picking up, the flavors start to meld together. I want to see what they do individually. So it may be a giant waste of time. But they're resting comfortably in the closet. And
Well, and talking about cigars, this actually brings up an interesting point. So I've a fairly decent cigar collection. Like I said, I was in cigars before I was even into pipes, and cigars actually go through this phase where they age really well up until about 10 years, and after that, they'll either plateau or they'll actually decline in quality. But some of them, and there's really no rhyme or reason as to how or why this happens, but some of them, even different ones in the same box, will actually come back after a couple of years beyond that 10 years. Like it'll be 10 years of great, and then they'll decline for about a year or two. And then some of them will actually come back up and be better than they were before. And it's really random how and why this happens. You can have different cigars in the same box that will actually go through this process differently. Have you noticed anything like that with pipe tobacco?
No,
Okay.
I haven't. I'm kind of, in fact, I haven't even really read that, and I was a pretty fervent cigar smoker for about a 10-year stretch there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be honest, I never had a tobacco last, a cigar last 10 years. And I had a humidor that I kept 150 cigars in. They just never lasted that long.
Yeah, I have a few that aren't really. I have a few that are pretty old, but we're kind of going through the process of seeing how they age. I don't know. Because, occasionally you hear about people pulling out these really old, pre-prohibition, Cuban prohibition cigars that come out and they still smoke them. So I don't know. It's really interesting to see how things age like that over time. He says he has them vacuum sealed in separate, based on separate types of leaves. And he says they don't age at the stored humidity. So they stay in stasis. So that's interesting. So they're not actually aging since they're vacuum sealed in there. I didn't know that would happen. I thought they'd still age and ferment at least.
Well,
because they have sugars in them, right?
Well, the interesting thing the first thing that I would be concerned about is there any leaching going on from the vacuum sealed bags? Are they going to leach something in long term? With BPAPs and some of the other chemicals that they use in plastic, is it going to leach? I would love to hear his results. I really would. Aromatics, if you want to connect with me on Instagram or you want to follow my channel, I would love to hear the progress on this. I really would. So
yeah, that's really interesting. So I know the vacuum sealing, it will cut off the humidity leaving the leaf, and it'll obviously cut off the oxygen, so you're not getting the same oxidation going on over time. But there's still sugars that I would think would ferment and actually improve the leaf over time. So that's really interesting. I'd love to see how those turn out.
Well, the question I have is if fermentation typically takes a little bit of oxygen.
Fair point. Okay. Look, aromatics, he's probably 100% right. That's really interesting. Yeah. That's good to know.
Yeah.
That's cool. No, he says a special type of bag. So that's cool. No, aromatics, honestly, we'd love to talk to you more about that. So yeah, follow Jim, and we're going to start doing these blend schools. And I think that'll be really fun to learn what you're doing with stuff like that.
Okay, so do you want to do it with me, Wes? Do you want to do a once a month blending show?
I'd love to join you for that. That sounds great.
Okay, so we'll do that. So once a month, I'll come on. We'll start the show we'll do a blend together, and we'll let the audience pick what they want us to blend, and then we'll just talk about blending.
Yeah.
And we'll do it on the Pipe Hooligan channel. You can come over and join my show.
Yeah,
you're killing me in subscribers, but maybe I can change that.
Well, like I said, I got more subscribers when I stopped making videos for a while. So I think I found the golden ratio of videos to subscribers, which means I just stopped making videos and people then they actually like my channel more.
Yeah, and people ask me, Jim, why aren't you ever, why isn't your face ever on screen? And I'm nothing special to look at. I'm an old guy with a gray beard, and let's look at the tobacco.
It's fine. My mom always tells me I have a face for radio, so I totally understand. Well, Jim, honestly, thanks for coming on, man. This is going to be a good blend. I got to get this in a jar. And
okay, well let's take a sniff here real quick before you go. Mm,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I think that, so for me, it's always the tin note. It starts with a tin note. The tin note isn't any good, you're probably not going to enjoy it much. And this tin note with the bourbons, the barrel stave in it. Ooh.
yeah. See, mine doesn't have the barrel stave, so you gotta send me one of those.
Yeah, I'll put some in a bag and put them in the mail for you tomorrow.
Yeah, that'd be great. And I'm gonna get some good photos.
I'll vacuum seal them up. I have a vacuum sealer. So.
There, well, you can send it over to with your 5 pounds of staves over to Tim Beaumont and see if he can vacuum seal all those for you.
Whip something up for us. Yeah.
Exactly. All right. Well, thanks again for coming on, Jim. It was awesome talking to you again.
Well, Wes, our conversations are so effortless and it's just so much fun, and I really enjoy it. And like I said, we'll chat off air about doing a blending show.
Absolutely. I'll try and make it. Try not to make it another couple months before we do something like this again.
Yeah, indeed.
All right. So everybody watching, listening, thanks a lot for joining us. Like I said, I will be posting the component list and a link to that spreadsheet in the description of this video. So check that out if you want to copy this. If you want to order any of Jim's blends or get a blend list, contact Jim. So shoot him an email. What's your email again? Emerson Southern at
yahoo.com.
Or contact him on Instagram. Send him a DM. You see his screen name there, Emerson Southern Forged. And he'll send you a full blend list, components, what's in them. And man, honestly, Jim, your blends are easily some of my favorites of all time.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And it's very humbling that you enjoy them so. And it just makes me want to keep going. So
yeah,
I'm having a blast. So, and tomorrow on the Pipe Hooligan channel, there will be the unveiling video. I've got 5 blends coming out. And we'll talk about some other stuff. So there'll be a video up tomorrow.
Oh, that is great. All right. Well, in the meantime, thanks for joining us, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right. We'll talk to you again.
was good. Funk you in the city, funk you up in the woods. Funkin' up the neighborhood. Funkin' up the neighborhood. I felt fool cause the funkin' was good. Funk you in the city, funk you up in the woods. Funkin' up the neighborhood.